Today, Hometown Tattoo is in the Sooner State, visiting Atomic Lotus Tattoo and 23rd Street Body Piercing in Oklahoma City. Amanda sat down with owners Jason and Tisha King, as well as artists Brandon Cutter and Frank Reddy, to find out what it's like to own, operate, and tattoo in the 50th and final state to legalize tattooing.
Today we're in Oklahoma City talking to the owners of Atomic Lotus Tattoo. How are you guys today?
Good.
Good. You?
Doing very well, thank you. Now, this is a little bit different than the interviews that we do usually because Tish and Jason are not tattoo artists. Why don't you tell us how you started with the shops?
Well, let's see. We opened 23rd Street Body Piercing 17 years ago, and tattooing was illegal in this state at that point, so piercing really was the only option. And over the years, we developed a very reputable studio, and when tattoos got legalized in '06, we were ready, and so we provide a very clean shop with excellent clientele for tattooers, and we don't really get involved with what they do. They do their tattoos, and we just provide them the spot to do it.
The fact that tattooing has only been legal for 6 years in Oklahoma makes Oklahoma City a lot different than anywhere else hometown tattoo has been.
Absolutely.
Will you explain to us the process of legalizing tattooing here?
Boy, I'm going to have to give credit to Miami Ink. for that, actually. We had several legislators here that were not ever letting it get out of committee. So each time the tattoo vote came up, there was these certain guys that said that it's like abortion, it's like prostitution. They put it in that same vein. Mm-hmm. And I think that once Miami Ink. was on, that fall that it started, people saw inside a tattoo studio, and it wasn't what the preconceived notions of these legislators were. And that December, it got past committee for the first time ever. I know that a lot of people cringe at Miami Ink., but in this case, I think it actually made the case that tattooing is done on normal people for normal reasons in clean, safe environments.
Now, what would you like people to know about Atomic Lotus that sets it apart from any other shop?
There's so many things, but mostly we're a very customer-centric studio. Not that the customer is always right, but we are really interested in giving the client the best experience that they can have. So that's having excellent artists. It's also providing a very clean, safe environment. We sell safety. We really, really do. So the protocols that we've put into place to make sure that people leave with just a clean tattoo and nothing else is very important to us, and I think that sets us apart. Who
are some of the artists that work for you, and how did you go about hiring them since Oklahoma was so new to tattooing?
Initially, the talent pool here in Oklahoma City was very shallow, shall we say. So we were hiring mostly people from out of state on references from other shops that we're friends with. So originally we didn't have any tattooers from Oklahoma. As things have progressed and Oklahoma tattooers have stepped up their game and really gotten much better, let's see now, Josh, Adam, Frank, and Brandon, 4 of our artists right now are all from Oklahoma. So
I mean, they have the best artists that come through this city. They have the best artists that work here, the best shop, period. I mean, everybody here is good, clean.
I've been getting tattooed by Brandon since he was an apprentice. I was his first tattoo that he had done. He specializes in traditional tattooing, and you know, the big, thick, bold outlines and the basic colors, and you know, his style kind of fits what I like the most.
I think that since there is so much of everything coming through the door, guys really are having an opportunity to explore different styles. So, and everyone's flavor changes as they're exposed to other artists and to new work, and you know, so it's just a sort of an ongoing learning process for the artists here.
How did you get into tattooing?
I got into tattooing because I kind of sucked at everything else, really, I guess. You know, played sports until I got hurt, and then because of sports, I didn't do much in, like, you know, academics, so there was no like being a lawyer or anything like that. always doodled on things and, you know, figured I had a little bit of an art skill. Not enough to really, like, you know, make anything of it. But, you know, I met the right people and ended up just hanging out at the shop for a while. And eventually, after their apprentices kind of failed and didn't have what it took to, you know, do that, I was still mopping floors and just being a part of the group. So they were just like, hey, you want to learn this? And I laughed at them, obviously, but, you know, eventually I got into it and just hit it whole hog, and it worked out.
How long have you been tattooing for?
About 6 years now, since it became legal in Oklahoma. I started apprenticing a little bit before that, but I kind of like got right in there with the passing of that act. It was like May 10th, 2006 or something like that.
Tell us a little bit about your apprenticeship.
My apprenticeship, I was basically, you know, owned by somebody for a couple of years. I really can't say that in the 2 years that I was apprenticing, I actually did too much tattooing to begin with. It wasn't really like a learn the industry type thing. I was taught by someone who was self-taught. So he basically had me go and buy a lot of sandwiches and, you know, scrub floors. But, you know, through doing that and being at the shop, I got to see how people interacted with the clients, how to, you know, give good customer service before we even sit down in the chair. You know, and that's to me is probably as big as the actual application of a tattoo that you do.
What was the first tattoo you ever did?
The first tattoo I ever officially did was on, I guess, our shop manager back at the shop I learned in, and it was a little kanji on his thumb. Basically, you know, I had to hold his hand, and my teacher was right, like, you know, in front of him, looking me dead in the face, and it was, you know, it was nerve-wracking, but it was a little bit easier because the first actual tattoo I did, I snuck into the shop the night before with a buddy of mine, and he wanted to be a chef. So he got a spatula, and it said "The Cook" in like big, like cartoon, like the tick lettering, you know? And, you know, we did that on his chest, and it was horrible. But, you know, I got the jitters out before I had my first actual, you know, real tattoo. And I think I did my first good tattoo probably last year or something like that, I don't know.
What would you say your style of tattooing is?
I'm really still trying to find a definite style. I'm really influenced by traditional, you know, works and whatnot, and like kind of the Asian style of tattooing. My drawing style has always been new school, so it's taking, like, you know, old school values and how the heavy black was, and, you know, the basic colors, but adding more saturation and depth to them, you know, just making it's kind of a mix between the two. I was doing a pretty cool thing for a while, since I'm not real big into realism, because I just don't feel that I'm as good at it as, you know, a lot of other people are, that I took portraits and I would do them more of a cartoon style, to where I would add the old school, you know, like you know, wavy hair and whatnot, and almost like comic book values to the actual features, to where it still mimics that, but it's different.
Like characters?
Caricatures, yeah, basically.
Awesome.
It's not exactly, you know, I'm not trying to match in the portrait exactly, because there's, you know, a lot of artists that are, you know, bang up at that. Until I hit that level, I'm not going to try and like, hey, this is my portrait, because, you know, I can show you 10 more that kick that one's ass.
Yeah.
But the caricatures I dig.
Where do you draw your inspiration for custom work?
Everywhere. I mean, I'm a huge nerd in the first place, so comics are, you know, one of my fortes. I mean, in my booth, there's a whole bunch of random stuff that's really incriminating. But I'd say I really like when someone brings in an idea. They say, you know, draw something. And hopefully, well, usually, like the people that I work on around here, they know my work well enough to know that I could, you know, take an idea and whip something up in about 20 minutes, and it would be, you know, something they'd like to have for a lifetime. So that's cool. But if someone brings in a picture as well, I'm not going to discount that. I mean, I totally think, you know, any visual cues will really help me in just, you know, finding out what kind of person that is, and, you know, what kind of stuff they would like to get on them.
So how long have you been tattooing?
I've been tattooing a year this month.
Awesome. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your apprenticeship, since you're fresh out of it?
Well, it was, I guess you could say I got an easy one. It wasn't given to me, but I had worked the counter since 2007, so I'd worked for about 2 years here full-time, 6 days a week. And it just came to a point to where I felt like I knew the ins and outs, and I like, if I know something, a lot of things, it's like I knew everything but how to do it, and that just started bugging me, and I was like, I need to do this, you know, do this or get another job type thing, you know. And after begging, and I went to Josh Daniels, he's a good friend of mine, and he was kind of like my only hope pretty much, you know. after messing with me, he gave me the opportunity, and I did everything as far as setting up, tearing down, errand boy, and then mainly it was just watching and watching and watching, and he would just, as he would do things I would need to know, he would make me aware of it and say, you need to focus on this, and do you see why this is doing this, and if he even did something, he was like, see, this is why you don't do that. He's really verbal, and I was really hands-on. So he didn't really, make me wear a chicken suit on the corner of the road or any of that bad, old school stuff, which he definitely hazed me some, but it was a really hands-on, like, it's time to learn, you need to focus, or you're gonna fail type thing, So I lucked out as far as, not washing motorcycles in the rain and stuff like that, but it was good hands-on.
What's your ideal client?
Someone who knows what I do and they like it, and they just give me a brief idea of what they want, and then they say the magic words of do what you want.
Where do you find inspiration for the work that you get to do when people say the magic words, do what you want?
Usually it's stuff that, that I already have kind of drawn up, like in between appointments. I'll be like, oh, that'll be cool. Or, I can find it from a movie, a commercial, just maybe something that I thought about for a shirt that wouldn't translate well and be a cool tattoo. A lot through my friends, like they'll do something and I'm like, oh, that's cool. And that will give me a whole other idea for something else, Definitely where I find inspiration is from, the good old days, old traditionals done right then, try to do better now. But that's pretty much what kind of got me the apprenticeship. I wasn't the greatest artist, but he said you can teach someone how to draw, you can't teach them imagination. So I'm always going off in here, and it was getting it on the paper part and learning to clean that up and learn technique that's where I'm at now.
So what style of tattooing do you like to do the most?
Definitely traditional. I love just old school traditional, and then I like to put a little spin on it, but it's definitely rooted out of traditional.
And how do you think Oklahoma City, the non-tattooed people, are taking the tattoo industry?
I think that attitudes on tattooing around the whole country have eased up so much in the last 10 years. Even here, this is the reddest of red states, and I don't really get any negative response from anybody.
Because it was illegal for so long, everybody was getting really poor quality tattoos in someone's kitchen, and let me practice, I'm professional. And so for so long, tattoos were yuck here. And so I think people are seeing nice tattoos and thinking, oh, how much did that cost? Oh, that was very expensive. It wasn't because you were drunk and in someone's kitchen. And I think it's the quality of tattooing, since it's been legalized, is changing, and it's changing people's minds about it. It's a higher quality product.
Even when we were in the PTA at school and all that stuff, we really didn't get negative responses to it. So, surprisingly.
Yeah, I think it's a lot more accepting than you would imagine it being in here, but there's still, the people that don't really agree with what we're doing.
It's definitely getting there, for sure. We are the last to get legalized, and it's got its goods and its bads to that, It's great to be tattooing in it now because it's a busy shop, because it's such a new thing. And at first people were just picking stuff off of MTV or the internet, but now people are getting more, I guess, used to it, and they're, able to get bigger and, think more instead of just like picking something because it's, they can do it now. They're getting real tattoos.
It's growing. It's becoming more acceptable little by little. With shops like Atomic Lotus putting out good quality work, it's helping out tattoo culture throughout the state.
It's still kind of in its infancy here. Like, people still kind of look at it as a taboo here. Still the Bible Belt, still a Christian state. So, but you see more and more people with visible tattoos now, and you see older people getting tattoos now.
I think that a lot of it also depends on how you put yourself out there. If you want to be the tough guy scumbag, tattooer, people will treat you like the tough guy scumbag tattooer. If you want to say, hey, this is the business that we're in and we're damn good at it, I think that people are going to respect that a little bit more. So, attitudes within the industry are changing as well. It's not just society at large. It's everybody.
Atomic Lotus Tattoo in Oklahoma City proves that even though Oklahoma was late to the start, it doesn't mean you can't get an awesome tattoo from some well-rounded artists.